Thank you, Dave. And I mean, I wish I had better news for you guys. Pretty much everything is closed today. You can see here's a live shot as you approach the Crescent City Connection Bridge. There was an earlier accident in the center lane with 2 cars, but since then that has been cleared. So if you're traveling from the West Bank, you shouldn't experience any issues. You can see that a few cars are on the road, but again, it's pretty clear that the roads are very, very icy. I'll go through a list. It will take me some time to get through the areas that are closed, so bear with me. First, the causeway is closed, which is probably most of you will all figure that out by now, in both directions. So if you're either southbound or northbound, don't worry about taking the causeway this morning because it is completely closed due to ice. I-10 is closed from Lafayette to Slidell as well. I-10 is closed westbound between Oak Harbor and Eden Isles. I-10 is closed between Satsuma Road and LA 1077, as well as it being closed in I-310 is closed between I-10 and LA 45 at River Road. I-55 is closed through the entire state, as well as the causeway being closed southbound and northbound, which I mentioned before. Highway 51 is closed from Airline in Laplace to the Mississippi line. Highway 51 is closed between I-55 and Rudock and Airline Highway, as well as the Crescent City Connection Bridge being closed, the elevated part of it. This includes the entire bridge once you get to the foot of the main span. So again, several areas around the city are closed, the entire interstate. Make sure that you don't travel on the roads this morning, especially if you don't have to. Many areas or many businesses are closed today as well. If you are traveling, give yourself some extra time, but if you don't have to get on the road, make sure that you stay home and watch us, as Dave mentioned, all morning. So again, I'll go through those road closures for anyone who's just tuning in. Causeway is closed in both directions, so if you're traveling south or northbound, you will not be able to take the causeway today. The Crescent City Connection Bridge is closed. The Huey P. Long Bridge is closed. I-10 is closed. I-12 is closed from LA 1077 to Baton Rouge. I-55 is closed from all the way to Slidell to the city.
April, thank you very much. This is a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing temperatures that, as April told you, are causing some very dangerous road conditions. Authorities, for good reason, are urging people to take precautions if you absolutely have to drive. Elevated roads and overpasses can freeze sooner than surface streets and interstates. If you do encounter black ice or slick conditions and you have anti-lock brakes, press on them firmly so that you don't skid. If you don't have anti-lock brakes, then gently pump your brakes and avoid steering abruptly. Of course, officials say the best way to stay safe is to stay off the road altogether. If you do decide to drive, though, give yourself plenty of extra time because you also need to let your windows defrost. I know mine were frozen this morning. And if you don't have to be on the road, this is why we're telling you not to. We both had to drive in this morning. Mine not that far from Gentilly. Where were you driving from, Chris?
I was coming in from River Ridge, and it was kind of hazardous coming in early this morning.
Did you lose control like I did?
I didn't lose control, but there were a couple of times where you're turning and the car wants to keep turning, or you can't stop as you're trying to just maybe slow down a bit and make that turn in. So, you know, we're not hyping this by any means. This is definitely something that you need to take very seriously. You are going to find black ice where you don't see it. And again, as we've been mentioning, there are still some areas where the elevated roadways are open. I came in using Earhart, and I tell you what, you're on the surface street part of Earhart Expressway, fine. As soon as you hit any of the overpasses, there are numerous on the Earhart Expressway, you will find that ice, and that's where you can easily skid. Trying to change lane, just something as simple as, you know, adjusting your car's direction to change lanes can be very hazardous. So this is something that if you do not need to be out in it, please stay home.
No, it's so scary, right? It's one of those things, right, when you hear from officials, don't drive. Sometimes it's a precaution. We did it this morning.
We did it. We wish we didn't have to. But yeah, it is very dangerous on the roadways this morning.
Extremely dangerous. It's very scary. Then there's the thing about anti-lock brakes. I was like, I don't even know if I have that.
See, I didn't know that. And that might be why when I was trying to slow down to go into a turn, my car started going, and I was, what did I do? What did I do? And it may have been, and I have anti-lock brake, maybe I had to push firmly down. So driving in ice is a totally different monster.
It is.
And it's not something that we're accustomed to because we only have this you know, once every so many years.
Right. Dave's from up north. He knows how to drive it, and he lost control this morning at one point and hit the curb. So yeah, if you don't know how to drive in this, I was like, oh my goodness, my brakes, I went to press on them and literally just wasn't stopping.
Exactly.
Thankfully, no other cars were around.
And that's something else. When we're coming in early this morning,
right,
there really aren't too many folks on the roadways, but as we start to get into that rush hour time frame, you're going to find more folks that have to go to work.
I know.
And you really want to give yourself a lot of extra time.
Right. The last thing you want to do is be going somewhere you don't have to go and get into an accident today or hit someone's parked car. So everybody just be very careful. Thanks for sharing what happened to you, Chris. Guys, if you rely